Hi everybody, my name's Simon George and welcome to Heaton Lodge Junction. So basically this is the first in a series of modelling masterclasses which are going to focus on replicating different aspects of this layout. The first one is actually going to be on static grass, which this video is going to cover. Now I think I've used about 5 bin liners of static grass in the construction of Heaton Lodge Junction over the last 5 years. So I've experimented, made a lot of mistakes, but hopefully in what I'm going to show you today, you won't do that and you'll get a good result first time out. So without further ado, let's move on and get cracking. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is just to show you exactly what can be done with a plain piece of board rather than the undulating polystyrene which I've used on Heaton Lodge Junction, which the camera's picking up now. So on this plain piece of board, as you can see, it's not even painted, it's just basic, but we're going to start by putting some glue on and then building up the layers of static grass. So again, PVA glue, it's just your normal PVA from B&Q or whatever. I know there's loads and loads of different glues around and people like basing glues or whatnot, but I just use bog standard PVA. In fact, if you buy it from in bulk, if you buy a lot of it, because you've got a layout which is, I don't know, more than 8 or 9 feet square, you might want to just go to, in fact I use Glues Direct, which supplies all sorts of really interesting glue products for models. So, cracking on with doing this, just as you can see, just some basic glue. You can hear that DMU in the background, that's on its way to Wakefield Kirgit in a minute, but right, okay. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just put a nail in here. This is the earthing nail for the static grass machine. Now I said earlier that I'm using this Woodland Scenics one simply because it's quite well available to everybody. There's cheaper ones, there's more expensive ones, but this is pretty middle of the road, to be honest. Just checking, actually it's full of grass, which it is. So let's just do as first layer. Switching it on would help. Give it a good sprinkle. And as I've said before, this is just really mini nature autumn blend with a bit of Pico 6mm straw blend, just mixed together by hand in a box like the one we've got next to the camera. Okay, so pretty thin that, but we're going to build it up in a minute. So next thing we're going to do, which will probably surprise some people, is just put your hand and just make a few little indentations with your fingers. I'll show you why in a minute. That'll do fine. All this is doing is just breaking up the actual landscape and giving it that, or it will give it that undulating appearance of a railway embankment, which is of course what we're trying to replicate. The next magic ingredient is this crushed earth that we talked about earlier. And again, you can either use a sieve here or you can just sprinkle it on. In fact, a sieve might be quicker. It doesn't matter if you put too much in. Sometimes big clods like that one there just fall, but you can see straight away what the effect is to mat everything down, and it gives that earth appearance of under the grass. Because the interesting thing is, when we look at grass as humans, all we see is the green because we're not looking at it directly from above. But if you see it directly from above, you will notice that it's brown underneath. So that is just one layer static grass with just the silt or the crushed earth poured on top of it. Okay, so we've just done one layer of static grass. What we're going to do is add another layer, and I'm going to use this spray matte varnish that we talked about earlier. I'm going to spray it this way because I don't want to ruin an expensive camera lens, but we're just going to give it a pretty liberal coat. Notice you can just see it turns white, and you need to be able to see it on here for the second layer of static grass to stick. So that is all we need for the second layer to go on. Okay, so we've just done the layer of varnish. Now that what we're going to do is just do the second layer of static grass. Same blend, and all we're going to do is shake it on top in exactly the same way as we did before. And you can see those finger indentations that I made earlier. Some of the static grass goes in, some of it goes around the sides, but you can see how the layer is building up. There's actually not much 6mm static grass length here, it's mostly 4mm. That's good enough for what we need, so we'll put that down and then we'll give it another little spray. And you can see again how it turns white, which really is an indication that there's enough on there. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add a little bit more earth. This is the crushed earth that you can get from the garden. Stick it in the oven and just dry it out and then sieve it. It's so essential, this. I've used so much of the crushed earth on Heaton Lodge. Okay, so we've just done 2 layers of static grass. What we're going to do is the final layer. We're just going to spray a bit more varnish over the top of all this. Yes, I know what you're thinking, you use a lot of matte spray varnish, but it's better than using, in my opinion, basing this other spray you can buy, because I think it's quite a lot more expensive. Matte varnish isn't as expensive. Switch the static grass gun back on. Let's just give it another light coating. In fact, I just need to refill this a little bit. Whoops, well, that didn't help, did it? But actually, it's mistakes like that, like I've just made, which add to the overall effect sometimes. So let's just do this again. So you can see the green of the grass. I say it's green, it's not really, it's washed out, but it's covered all the earth, which is exactly how the real thing looks. Again, just give it a little spray. There we go. And then our magic ingredient once more, which is the soil, the crushed and sieved soil. You might think I've put a bit much on there, but I don't think you can put enough of it on. I still think it looks pretty good. So there we have it. The one thing we've got left to do is we're just going to put a little bit more varnish on, because we're going to use some of Woodland Scenic's earth blend to replicate a few weeds. So I've got it in this little aerial tub, but if we just sprinkle a bit on here. Do you know what? I don't know why this adds to the realism, but somehow it does. And it's the closest thing I can find to actually mimicking the weeds you find on top of grass, even in the winter time. I think that'll do it. One more little spray of varnish. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you get from just modelling static grass onto a flat piece of plywood. As I said earlier, if you do it on undulating landscaping underneath, such as polystyrene, which is the favourite of many modellers, it'll look even better. But that's a basic effect on just plywood, which to my eyes looks pretty good. Right, ladies and gents, thanks very much again for watching this video on static grass construction at Heaton Lodge. Basically, the ingredients should be appearing at the bottom of your screen now. The next video, incidentally, is going to be about creating the dead weeds and brambles and all the kind of winter stuff that you see on railway embankments. We're going to concentrate on that. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. But until then, thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.